Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking more about my story and my lupus pregnancy. Where I left off last time was I had just left the ER with some Norco and still alive pregnancy, but a cardiac effusion and inflammation of the heart sac, or pericarditis. I was still in a lot of pain. However, the doctors told me that I just needed to follow up with my primary care for maintenance and my condition should be better in a week or two. I followed up with my primary care doctor that Wednesday. I think I was in the ER a Friday night. And the following Wednesday, I was able to get in with my primary care doctor. He didn't seem worried about my condition at all, which was hopeful for me. However, just in those few days where I had been resting and drinking a lot of fluids and cutting out a lot of salt in my diet, I had not felt better yet. My doctor said that he was concerned about me taking Norco, not for the pregnancy, but for the addictive qualities. I told him that it was the only way I could get to sleep. He just kind of looked down and said, well, you shouldn't be experiencing that much pain. But then he didn't do anything else. He didn't refer me anywhere or do anything else. He just kind of made the comment, I shouldn't be experiencing that much pain. He went ahead and refilled my medication and he said to call him if I needed any more, but it was doubtful he would prescribe me anymore. After leaving his office, I decided that I was just going to get off the Norco and see how much pain was really there if I wasn't on it. A lot, it turns out. It was extremely painful. I had to sleep propped up on pillows. It felt like if I were to lay backwards, there was something squeezing my chest and constricting my breathing. It literally felt like my lungs were deflating. It always felt like I was not able to get enough air. However, every time they took my oxygen level, it was fine. My heartbeat was racing out of control 100% of the time. In the ER, they said that that was probably typical for pregnancy and for the amount of stress I was under being in so much pain. My doctor said it also could just be the inflammation in my body from the lupus. I limited myself to only 2 Norcos a day, one when I first got up, and then one to help me sleep at night. That was not cutting it. It was absolutely terrible. I was in excruciating pain. I was not able to laugh, cough, cry, sneeze, or yawn without extreme pain. Basically anything that made my lungs fill all the way up or fill even halfway up was absolutely excruciating. My breaths were shallow and frequent, and I always felt like I wasn't getting enough air. Because of the odd positions I had to prop myself up in, it was making my joint pain worse, and I never really got a good night's sleep. And if you know anything about chronic illness or any illness at all, a good night's sleep is absolutely essential. I found that if I took a Norco, a half an hour after that, I was able to sleep at maybe this angle instead of this angle. That Friday night, after spending 2 days trying to get off of the Norco, I was in such bad shape that I was no longer able to stand upright. I had to be kind of hunched over the couch. Since I was not able to cry, I was not able to take a deep breath, anything like that, I resorted to this almost yelling way of releasing pain and energy. Obviously, if you're hunched over a couch and you're just yelling a lot, your husband tends to get a little concerned. So we went back to the ER that night. When we went in, it was a different doctor, but she had read the note from the doctor from the week before, and she was very concerned about it being a pulmonary embolism. She told me that I absolutely had to have a CT. There was no other way around it, and if it was a pulmonary embolism and I didn't make it, there was no way the baby was going to make it anyway. She was actually a really sweet doctor, and she told me that in her residency she had worked a lot of car wrecks, and she told me she had given a lot of pregnant mothers CTs where there was no way to avoid it without risking the life of the mother and obviously the life of the baby. As fate would have it, they had just upgraded to a new CT scanner, and it was actually one that was better for pregnancies than the one that they had previously been using. I was about the 5th person to ever use it, so I was very lucky to have that. After looking at the CT, they found out that I had pericarditis, a pericardial effusion, but also pleuritis, or pleurisy, which is an inflammation of the lining of the lung. So I not only had inflammation around the heart and fluid in the heart sac, I also had inflammation around the lining of the lung as well. So just kind of my whole chest area felt like I was dying all the time. At this point, she had kind of had it up to here with sending me back to a primary care physician. So she told me I needed to go to a real rheumatologist, a cardiologist. She wanted me to go ahead and follow up with primary care just to do her due diligence, and a high-risk OBGYN. She refilled my Norco for the third time, and she told me to also start taking aspirin with it. She said to wait until I spoke to the cardiologist to see if I was supposed to be taking anything else. So at this point in my life, I had a primary care physician, a rheumatologist, a cardiologist, high-risk OBGYN, and a reproductive endocrinologist all on call. Honestly, going back to the ER for that second time, I really feel like it saved my life. Not in the way where I would have died if I hadn't gone back, but it saved my quality of life by being referred to so many doctors at that point and not just being entrusted to the hands of a primary care physician. Leaving that night, my mood was very low. I felt like there was no way out of my body. I felt like the baby was never going to make it. I felt like I was never going to get better, and I was never going to stop discovering new kinds of pain. I remember not wanting to go to sleep that night. Not because of the extreme pain I was in, which was a factor, or how much my joints hurt trying to get into bed, which was also another factor, or the fact that my husband and I were having some trouble again, but just for the reason, what was the point of it? I didn't feel like there was any way I was going to get better, and even going to sleep, even eating seemed pointless. I was extremely discouraged. I was in a lot of pain. Addictions was never really something that I personally struggled with, so I had no fear of getting hooked on the narcotics. However, they were the only thing that put me into a place where I was able to sleep, where I was able to function without extreme pain. I didn't like that about myself. Honestly, I just wasn't encouraged on any level at that point. So that is where I'm going to leave you today. Just a reminder, the baby made it. He is absolutely beautiful. He is wonderful. He is 2.5 now and keeping me on my toes. I'm in remission now, and I do not suffer from symptoms of pericarditis 99.9% of the time. Every now and then when I get really run down, I get little hints of it, but nowhere near as bad as anything where I can't perform basic lung functions like coughing or sneezing or yawning or crying or laughing. It's a long list, y'all. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day, and I will talk to you on the flip side. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks. Bye. I was not able to get enough air. As fate would have it, they had honestly, going back to the second, or how much my joint hurts, and honestly, I just wasn't encouraged on any